Yeah. Sometimes it feels so unreal to feel the way that I feel. To know that you're that someone truly loves all of me. So I'm giving you all of me. Baby, I'm giving you all of all. I'm giving you all of me. So I'm giving you all of me, baby. Said I'm giving you all of me, baby. Oh, this is how I will love you. I will love you completely. This is how I will love you, 'cause baby, you complete me. Yeah. This is how I will love you. I will love you completely. This is how I will love you, 'cause baby, you complete me.
The platform. Step up and speak out. The platform. Step up and speak out. The platform. Step up and speak. ZFM Stereo Sport. The platform. Step up and speak out.
It's a good evening and welcome to the platform live on ZFM Stereo, my station, your station. If you're out in Bulawayo, you can tune in on 106.7 FM, Gweru 104.3, Chimanimani 91.3, Kadoma 105.2. Now, just a week on Thursday, the 16th of March, Hayatou was toppled from the CAF presidency after 29 years at the helm of African football. The Cameroonian, a teacher by profession, succeeded Abdel Halim Mohamed in 1988. He led the Confederation of African Football from a rudimentary collective of football associations to the billion-dollar entity it is today. He presided over the first African World Cup, South Africa 2010, and was instrumental in the increase of African participants at the World Cup. However, his leadership of African football was mired in controversy with accusations of financial impropriety around the awarding of television rights of CAF and FIFA events. In November 2010, Andrew Jennings, the presenter of FIFA's Dirty Secrets, an edition of BBC's flagship current affairs program Panorama, alleged that Hayatou had taken bribes in the 1990s regarding the awarding of contracts for the sale of television rights for the Football World Cup. Panorama claimed to have obtained a document from a company called ISL, which showed that Hayatou was paid by the company. ISL won the contract to distribute the television rights. In May 2011, the Sunday Times published claims from a whistleblower that Hayatou had, along with fellow executive committee member Jacques Anouma, accepted a $1.5 million bribe from Qatar to secure his support for the bid for the 2022 FIFA World Cup. Those two accusations amongst the many leveled against him. Well, he's gone, and the new man in charge is the Malagasy national Ahmad, and the man credited with crowning him King of African football is none other than ZIFA and COSAFA President Dr. Phillip ChIyangwa. He's in the studio and he's our guest live on the platform. My name is Mike Madoda for a special edition of the platform. I'm your host for tonight, Dr. Phil. Good evening and welcome to the platform.
Thank you. Good evening, listeners.
Well, let me start by congratulating you on the accomplishment of a task that many thought was next to impossible. The old man of African football, Hayatou, is gone.
Yes, he is. I must thank God in the first place that each and every day I got into this, I said to myself, I want to finish this, and can it be possible, God? And I used to pray every night that, I've spent today and this guy is still there, until when I realized he was getting weaker. The moment he started saying, no, I'll bring you before a disciplinary committee, I knew I was winning.
Well, there are a lot of people that didn't believe that it would happen. I know a lot of people said, no, what is Phillip ChIyangwa getting Zimbabwe into? But ultimately, you and I were just having a brief chat just before we got into the studio. You were saying you never pick a public fight until you have measured the capacity of your enemy and until you are sure that they will fail and you will succeed.
I always say that when I start fighting, I don't stop. So when I knew he had to go, I had to use everything, every trick in the book to ensure that he was out. because when you really look at the catalogue of things that were wrong about Issa Hayatou continuing to be in office, it was never going to be to any African state's benefit, because you can see that his judgments in the past for the various awards given either for TV, AFCON, were skewed in favor of, you know, the Francophone countries. And there's nothing you can tell me in the past 20 years Issa has done for us. The South African bid, apparently, you must it's not Issa's insistence that it comes to South Africa. It was Sepp Blatter himself who campaigned for Mandela to get that award to come to South Africa, because Mandela wanted it. And that was the other advantage that they had as South Africa, not Issa.
ZFM, my station, your station. No doubt we've got the hottest person right now in Zimbabwe here in the studio on the hottest station in the land. And we'd like to keep it interactive here on ZFM Stereo. Get in touch with us. Your tickets onto the platform. Call in 0772-168-045. That number again, 0772-168-045. You're also on WhatsApp, 0731-168-045. That number again, 0731-168-045. On Twitter and Facebook, the handle to use at ZFM Stereo. And of course, you can also interact with me in my personal capacity at Mike Madoda on Twitter. Now, let's start with the leadership role, Dr. Phillip ChIyangwa, that you assumed in the ouster of Hayatou. Was that opportunism, or it was a well thought out objective that you actually had in mind when you entered football administration? Because there are those that will remember that when you were elected ZIFA president, you clearly said that it was not just ending at 53 Livingston Avenue, you were going all the way to CAF headquarters, and you're going all the way to Zurich to FIFA headquarters.
Yeah. Well, I came into football as a result of finding that our own football administration and the administrators were not up to the required standard. That was to deliver, you know, results as would have been the case. Zimbabweans have had so many downsides, and one must understand that football is a uniting sort of sport. It is the central sport to all sports. It is the biggest sport called in Zimbabwe, in the world. And as such, you know, those that are mandated to administer football should do the best that they can, knowing fully that it is the only sport where, you know, even those that are uneducated, they thrive in football, in playing football. So basically, even though you've been disadvantaged and you've been playing, you know, Bora Remakweshe Umarzeva, you obviously sometimes you find there are so many guys whose reputations you all know from before, who were not educated to any standard, but they were playing good football. So football, once you deny access to what Hayatou was doing, that there is no funding coming into Zimbabwe from sponsors would want to invest in the Southern Africa talents, as well as the other competitions that he did not want to be given to us. I mean, you will recall when Leo Mugabe was president of ZIFA, Issa and him had a tiff in the 2000s, okay? Yeah. And actually he demanded that Leo brings a letter written by our president to himself. Now you can understand over the years he was now dealing with presidents of countries only, and this is what Issa was all about. Football is just a basic thing that makes people unite, and sometimes the sort of standards that we would be expected by Issa, one, you would take bribes, and they were huge bribes. You don't expect me from Zimbabwe to go and give him $5 million as a bribe. You understand? So, in as much to say that don't pay bribe. I mean, given that you take a position not because you also poor bribe, you take a position because you want to save the people. But now it was no longer that. And please, for those that want to know on record, Issa was 29 years as president we CAF. But Issa did not only become president, akatanga vice president. My Makore always was 29. And he was coming from like ZIFA, Cameroon FA, where he was president. He was president there for a long time. Roger Miller, Sumuka, Ninyayani.
So no doubt you felt that he had overspent his time at the helm of African football.
Anga to buy quick. So, here is this guy. I come into football, and obviously, I had my own thinking. I had my own ideas about taking Zimbabwean football forward. Apart from, actually arresting the run that was there. Every day you wake up and you hear ZIFA is owing this one, that these things have been taken and this and that. That has gone away. And we had to focus at our own athletes, the players, the girls and the women, and ensure that, at the end of the day, we are able to fund, their matches, so that at least, they can perform, right? Up to when we went to Gabon. I'm sure we did the best. I did the best I can whilst in office. During my period, I did not incur debts. I don't have squared it since the 5th of December when I took office, up to when we did our competitions, even the ones in Cameroon for the girls, we paid. The ones in Gabon, we were actually asking for the money by the players in advance.
And you sorted out the winning allowances, you sorted out the bonuses?
In fact, when you want to think about the Warriors demanded. In fact, you remember the boycotts there. Yeah, it was all about money. And at the end of the day, I said to my guy Machana, please pay them. You know what I mean? Just pay them. We have gotten the money, pay them. And we don't owe them anything. So when you look at that, I wanted the noises that normally arise for nothing to be put away, so that we can focus at planning and executing the game, which is what we are now doing.
Excellent. Well, we're going to discuss a lot more to do with our game here in Zimbabwe, but I just want us to first of all, of course, go over the issue, I think, that is making headlines the continent over, which is, of course, the new CAF president, Ahmad from Madagascar. Now, you championed his cause, and a lot of people, a lot of fans especially, a lot of people on the streets right now, the majority of our listeners do not know much about Ahmad, the man who's now the president of CAF, and it has been a meteoric rise for the former fisheries minister and current deputy president of his country's Senate, who was elected to the CAF executive committee, I think only 4 years ago in Morocco. Perhaps you more than anyone else would know about Ahmad, as who is he, what swayed you to his cause, what type of person is he, what's his philosophy? Does youth have that experience and the capacity to actually change things on the continent, Mr. ChIyangwa?
Okay. On record, I fought for not just Ahmad, the entire executive that was at CAF. I had to put a person against each and every one of them, and they all went in. So the entire executive of ISA was knocked out. There are a few that were there. They were not against me, so I didn't even put a person against them. So it was Ahmad and 6 others. We have from COSAFA, Ahmad Jordan.
Yes.
We have a guy from Angola. I think on the part of COSAFA, we have 3 that are there.
That have now made the executive committee. And of course, the ones that were booted out of that executive committee were pro-Hayatou guys.
Yeah. They wanted to stand. They could not get votes. Some voted 4, 7, things like that.
But what does Ahmad, though, Mr. ChIyangwa, put on the table? What can he do
here's
for
the
African
story.
football?
For people, they probably would have never known Ahmad. Apparently, ISA put a condition in the constitution that he would not be challenged by anybody else outside of his executive. In other words, I couldn't challenge him, but I can challenge the FIFA president. I can't challenge ISA. That's the only constitution in the world which is structured like that. It was ISA's own machinations, and also that he removed the age limit from 70 and he removed it to, ageless constitution. So he wanted to stay there. And my worry was that, look, this guy is not looking at us in Africa, or Southern Africa in particular, and also saying, such a competition, other competitions could visit us. Particularly the main competitions like the ladies competition and the women competition, senior national teams. He didn't want them to come this side. He would always want them to be down that side in West Africa. So that was one problem. And, okay, when we had our COSAFA meeting, right? You will recall Ahmad comes from Madagascar.
Yes.
He's from what we call the islands. So there are 4 islands. There's Comoros, Seychelles, Mauritius, and Madagascar.
Madagascar, yes.
That block was united to the extent that they were more in favor of me being president of COSAFA, right? So for me, I felt indebted to the fact
and that block on the islands.
Yeah, and I felt indebted to the fact that these guys came and they never asked any questions. I was having problems, in fact, in the mainlands, where one country where I flew to go and see a president when I was on my campaign trail. He asked me to come, but he did not pitch. So I flew in and slept and woke up the following day and left without seeing him, right? It was different with the islands. The islands, I never went there. They came to say, we want to give you the 4 votes. So when I realized I turned votes, I stopped campaigning. And I knew I'd won.
You knew you'd won. So some would say, though, Mr. ChIyangwa, that this looks like it's just a game of politics. You know, you are returning a favor that was bestowed upon you at
no,
one
let me
stage.
give you much more argument about it.
Yeah, yes.
No. Okay, so here is Hayatou. His constitution does not allow anybody to challenge him. So the only person now who went in there fighting his way into the CAF executive is Ahmad. And he comes from COSAFA. Are you with me?
Yes.
Ahmad is ambitious as anybody else. He is now looking in the future that, look, in case I agree that he should challenge Issa when I become president of COSAFA, he should go for it because he's already inside. There was no one else who could challenge Issa. That's why there were no many CVs. Because if the situation opens up like what has happened now, where the constitution has been amended, that anybody can challenge for CAF president, then you will see more CVs flying.
Yes, there will be a lot more people challenging.
That's right. So, but up to now, when we wanted to remove him, it didn't matter which, even if it was a baboon, we'd rather have the baboon than Issa. You understand?
Yes.
So we were very much determined that we don't want this guy and his cronies in there. We want him out. And when I got my I was the people who were challenging me withdrew. Days before in fact, one in the Congress, the other one 2 weeks before. So basically, I was and nobody decided to put up a fight with me, and they all withdrew. And when you now look at where is Ahmad coming from, we had no other choice but concentrate on the candidate that is coming out of COSAFA, from COSAFA, you see, than any other.
So the objective here was to get rid of Hayatou.
Yes.
And the only person eligible by virtue of the existing constitution of CAF was Ahmad. He was the only one in the executive committee.
Yes, no one could challenge Issa because the people that were there were his.
They were all pro Hayatou. Yes.
So the only one who was an outsider who would work with was Ahmad.
Does he have the strategies, though, Mr. ChIyangwa, to reform?
You have already
African
said
football?
this guy was a fisheries minister, etc. Look, that means in his own country,
he's a businessman.
He has capacity and capabilities. And as far as I'm concerned, he's not the only person who ran CAF. There are people that have been elected with him who are capable people as well, that will become chairpersons of the various committees. So the deliverable is not just on him alone. It's, the ballpark, the team that is going to be servicing, member associations.
Well, now that you mentioned that, there is a journalist, a Nigerian journalist, Osasu Obiwana, who has worked extensively on the continent and also worked with BBC Football. Now, he writing just a couple of days ago, Mr. ChIyangwa, he wrote that while financial reform and change in the overall manner of governance is desperately needed at CAF, the proverbial baby should not be thrown out with the bathwater. Many staff in CAF will be frightened about their futures. For certain, the incompetent ones need to be shown the door, but those that have demonstrable competence must be allowed to remain. A policy of victimization in the name of change will do CAF tremendous damage, as institutional knowledge from competent, non-partisan staff is required to chart a better course for the organization. Now, does Ahmad have that capacity to work with and integrate those that did not necessarily vote for him? And whilst his victory was resounding, it was by no means unanimous, because there are still 20 nations that voted for Hayatou. And there are still people maybe at CAF headquarters who, whilst they may have supported Hayatou, perhaps they have the ability and the capacity to also contribute in this new dispensation.
I'll be honest with you, I ain't the president of CAF, neither am I in the executive.
But you are a voice in the ear of the man.
I only come in when the situation is as bad as it was, to correct it.
To firefight.
But I'm going to tell you this. it ain't gonna be my business to have a day-to-day or
the
that
day-to-day
sort of
running of CAF.
responsibility.
Yes. But
as
I'm
to-
just asking you from your knowledge of the man. Is he one
He's
for
an
conciliation?
amiable and affable person. He's a very nice person. So to a large extent, look, I have a guy who will not embarrass Africa. Rather than having continued with Issa, we are better putting our bets on this particular guy. He's a nice guy. And at least we are in a position where we now know that we have a new guy who knows that there is a lot of expectation for him to deliver. So as far as I'm concerned, I do believe let's let them take office and let them be there. Then we start to ask them questions. At least my business is to look at and monitor and oversee that the people that we put there are going to be not making us lose ground support. Because ground support is people like you talking, hey, look at this, and that, and the other. So I will be listening. My ears will be out there listening and telling him, listen, my man, this ain't taking us anywhere. You need to change course and run this course, or what have you. Remember, I remain the boss of COSAFA. He answers to me in COSAFA. And as I remain his advisor, his chief advisor. So if there's anything I think I must tell him, I will tell him.
It's the unmistakable voice of Dr. Phillip ChIyangwa, also the unmistakable sound of ZFM Stereo, my station, your station. We are talking about the ouster of Issa Hayatou as the president of CAF, the ascent of Ahmad from Madagascar to the helm of African football. Stay locked onto your favorite station. We'll be continuing the conversation straight after this message.
This is the hottest station in the nation. Proudly ZFM Stereo.
It's ZFM Stereo Talk.
You are just a ZANU-PF in a different clothing, same thing, different packaging. How do you respond to that?
That's why I say it's only one Zimbabwe people first, and there could be another ZANU-PF second. That's the one you are referring to as one which expels people. That's the one which Joyce Mjuru is leading.
The talk that gets you talking, Mondays to Thursdays between 6 p.m. and 9 p.m.
Zimbabwe's finest radio. ZFM Stereo. The platform. Step up and speak out.
Welcome back to the platform, a special edition with your host, Mike Madora, right here on my station, your station, everyone's favorite station, ZFM Stereo. We're speaking to Dr. Phillip ChIyangwa, who's also the ZIFA and COSAFA president, and the man who's credited with the toppling of Issa Hayatou from FIFA headquarters. Now, FIFA, or should I say CAF, had become increasingly West African and especially Francophone in nature under the tenure of Hayatou. Anything and everything French held sway with the rest of Africa, increasingly marginalized. I had a personal experience just a couple of months ago. I was in Gabon, and to be honest, if you are not French or you cannot speak French or you're not of the French region or the French bloc in Africa, you really felt that you're almost a stranger on your very own continent. Now that the COSAFA boasts one of the most influential voices on the continent and a man with the ear of the FIFA president, that is yourself. You now have the CAF president falling under your block, COSAFA. What pieces, Mr. ChIyangwa, can Zimbabwe expect to pick up from all this? What are the things that we can benefit from CAF as a result of the overthrow of Hayatou? Because that's the question people want to know. Tafara tapedza. Aenda mdarawe anditika. Chichi chauya kuZimbabwe. What was the risk? Was it worth taking? Why did you leverage the name of Zimbabwe?
Okay. I'm sure that that answer is simple in that you will recall I never issued a press statement, or I held a press conference on this. It was people picking things from wherever they picked them from, and I just focused at the end result. The reason is that, one, I never made a promise to Zimbabweans that this is what I want to do, because I was not bidding to be the president. I was fronting for someone who is now the president. The truth of the matter is that Zimbabwe will benefit, right? But I ain't going to broadcast the benefits. They will come. And when they do, let CAF itself announce them. But certainly, I wasn't sweating for nothing. Okay, and benefits will come.
There are certain things that are pretty obvious. For example, the marginalization of our match officials, tournament hosting, and even the failure for CAF to avail funds for development here in Zimbabwe. Surely those are some of the things that many people would describe as low-hanging fruit that we should expect to see.
Money is already pledged at the Congress. We want competitions here. We want certain things that will, get people working, people getting a job to do something in preparation for a match that's coming or a competition that's coming. That's what I'm looking at. You know what I mean? In coming into ZIFA, I say to myself, there's targets that I want to achieve. Right now, COSAFA will give you a competition, a senior women's competition, right? This year, yeah. And then when there's anything else that I must bring, I'll bring it home.
There are many people who are crying out for the African Cup of Nations.
But
if
you
remember,
see now where
it was
cruelly,
it was cruelly stolen from Zimbabwe by Hayatou over a decade ago.
Just for your own knowledge, in 2 years' time, it's going to Cameroon. Right. After that, it's moving over to Senegal. After that, it is moving over to Cote d'Ivoire. Those are the things I now want to deal with the EXCO to reverse.
To reverse the decisions that have already been made.
Yes.
Is it possible, though,
yes,
the fact that they've already granted the hosting
the
rights
fact
to
that
Senegal?
he reversed the decision
For Zimbabwe?
Madagascar. On the eve of going to Gabon, right?
Yes.
He reversed. He took a competition and put it where in Gabon, where this competition is just ended. Equally, you will get. Yes, I have a meeting with COSAFA, so I'm going to get a resolution there.
Okay, let's bring the conversation back home, and for our listeners, please carry on with your contributions. We'll be reading as many messages as we can and taking some of your calls. Just a reminder of our interactive platforms as we go on here on the platform. You can call in on 0772-168-045. That's 0772-168-045. WhatsApp 0731-168-045. That's 0731-168-045. Twitter and Facebook at ZFM Stereo is our handle. I am speaking to Dr. Phillip ChIyangwa about football on the continent, but also football here at home. Now, Gianni Infantino, who is the FIFA president, together with the Honorable Minister of Sport, Makosini Tlongwane, they announced certain development initiatives that have excited the nation, Dr. Phillip ChIyangwa, but they've also created expectation. The establishment, for example, of 8,000 clubs at grassroots level, a national football academy, and the disbursement from FIFA of, is it 750,000 a year for ZIFA's development projects. When can we look forward to seeing this happen?
Okay.
Are there any timelines? Do you have any strategies?
It's true. I've had allocation of funds for junior football development and other training programs for referees, coaches, and giving some of the money to women. So what's happened now is that we at least have a program which we will work with government, which could well be the route in which the money will be placed. When the idea of 8,000 clubs was mooted last year sometime, I was called for a meeting at its unveiling, and the intention apparently is that we have got 1,963 wards or councillors in the country. So it is felt that from each ward we'll have a club, right? We haven't embarked upon it, and I would need, because I'm the funder for this program now, ZIFA is the one that's being given the money, and then government and us sign up a partnership agreement, and we fund the program. Now, you don't pay the kids for playing. You want them to have all the necessaries for them to start at an early stage.
To get involved in the game.
Exactly. So one thing that I'm looking at is that we are currently, as we speak, working on the final document, so that from government there has to be enough and tertiary institutions coming in together on this one, because it has to be a program where we have a field to play the matches, and when it's you know, the gyms, things like buying gym equipment for each and every, you know, province is necessary for training purposes and things like that. So I'm looking at what document, because the document which government has all the sporting disciplines, which are about 58, 50 or 60, and the biggest one being is football. I've requested that please pluck it out of your document, put it there. Now, let us work on that and see how practical this can be. It needs all Zimbabweans coming together, because remember, I've already said this is about 1,963 wards. There are councillors that are in those wards. They have to be buying into the idea so that this idea can be successful.
You talked about the practical aspects, and I'm glad you also mentioned that you are still working on the concept. You're still finalizing it. Now, sure. Just a few years ago, we were in Germany on a knowledge tour of the Bundesliga, and one of the things that they did, Mr. ChIyangwa, was that they, instead of spreading the game, as we perhaps are trying to do with the formulation of 8,000 clubs, they consolidated their game, because what they wanted to do was they wanted to maximize on the resources that they had to actually feed into this system. Just like here in Zimbabwe, are we not better served consolidating and investing in already existing structures? We go back to when I was growing up, we used to have even Division 3, Division 4 football. Kunana Sanyati, Kwaitambwa Bora, Chakari, you know, Beatrice, Banket. There were football clubs that were playing football that we no longer see. Are we not better served perhaps investing that money, or at least part of the money? I'm not saying do away with forming clubs, but maybe cutting down on the clubs and then making sure that we have a vibrant Division 2 setup, we have a vibrant or established a Division 3 setup, that we start pumping these money into already existing structures.
Okay, just for you to understand this program is the early stage program. It is the program which produces the cream that then goes to your divisions. So you can't do away with it.
So it's for children?
Not children. But if you say children, now you're talking about people who are under what? Under 18 years? In Zimbabwe, the law says under 18 is a child.
Because I want to ask, has anyone thought about how we can absorb all that talent, Dr. ChIyangwa?
Yeah, but you see,
8,000 clubs?
You have to harness it, okay? One thing you can't do, you see, why I like the program and why the president of FIFA liked the program, because there are some remote areas where there has to be some action, and this program brings activity throughout the country. Therefore, the argument about its existence is indisputable. In other words, you know, you have schools who are so far apart and maybe so rural that to an extent we want to be able to send balls there and get things happening there. There has to be some activity. You know, you have councillors who are in Binga, for instance. There is no activity there, right? We want to be able to say, okay, because of this sort of program, there are now things coming from FIFA and from Nike and from the various sponsors, right, that are designed for this program. I've already said that it's not going to be monetary only to my president. If he can be able to source even equipment, balls, kits, and things like that from, you know, the big sporting companies that sell various of those wares, I would appreciate it. Then I can filter this to, you know, throughout the country in order to meet this particular obligation that my president has made to Zimbabwe. So for me, I think for us to get the cream, like the Kama Billiards, etc., you have to get these people coming through from somewhere. But we have to open those gates. Once we then trim it and we want to cut expenditure, the whole program falls apart. We are back again to having our sports academies which produce who they produce, and they are personally held, and there's nothing there that really makes them get more support. You understand? Because they're individually owned and there's not much we can influence on that basis. But this program will be run, supported by government and ourselves, so that at least it's successful.
talking about the critical issues that are in local as well as African football with the ZIFA and COSAFA President Dr. Phillip ChIyangwa. Just taking a look at our WhatsApp platform, the messages are raining in from around the country. That number again, 0731 168 045. Anzi, thanks Blafiza for helping kick Hayatou out of CAF. Now you can help Arsenal kick Wenger out of England. That message is from Brian out in Mutare. Good evening to you, Brian, and thank you so much for tuning in to ZFM Stereo. Sando Zawova ChIyangwa, Edward Mutombi, Pa Chi Town. Keep your messages coming in, guys. This is the WhatsApp platform. And another message that's coming in here. This one is from, you don't tell us your name, but say ChIyangwa Anzi Ngadire Marimu Bora. And to accept kuti he's a business-minded person. And that's what you're trying to do, to bring more resources into the local game. And many people will say that whilst we have seen money coming into the Premier Soccer League, while we have seen some money coming into the national team, we have rarely seen money going into that junior structure. Therefore, we were watching just a couple of weeks ago that junior continental tournament out in Zambia. Zimbabwe didn't have representation. In fact, we didn't even participate in the qualifiers.
We were knocked out earlier on.
We were knocked out earlier on, and now we have our friends, both north and south of our borders. They're going to be participating at the Junior World Cup, and that's
they
where
did not participate at AFCON. Come on, they did not participate.
No, they did not
at the
participate
Olympics. Yeah, so we last year we participated.
Yes.
Even including the regional tournaments, which are government, right? In Angola, we are the champions. So yeah.
Whilst that is well and good, and we will commend you for that, Mr.
Sure.
ChIyangwa, but it's repeated qualification that Zimbabwean football fans want to see. And that's what makes countries perhaps like Cameroon, countries like Senegal and Egypt have an advantage over Zimbabwe, because their boys go in there, tournament in, tournament out. They have the experience and the fear.
Can I also give you the reason why? Okay, you'll be speaking about Cameroon, Senegal, Cote d'Ivoire. These were the Issa Hayatou support countries. Okay, now if you are going to be starved of competition, you are going to be starved of sponsorship. That block, because it gets more competition, people like Total pour money to the various leagues that are there. And the growth in those countries is actually funded by that support, which is in expectation that all competitions are coming here. We never have had that kind of hope that we will get competitions. Why? Because of Issa Hayatou, right? This region has been starved of that expectation.
Of competition.
Yes.
And whilst we can certainly say Issa Hayatou was to blame for that, but we can't blame Issa Hayatou for the failure of Zimbabwe to establish football academies at grassroots level. I mean, I take a look at the academy out of Senegal that Sadio Mane got out of. We have better academies here in Zimbabwe. It was just, passion, training, and hard work that he put in. And we have a number of stories like that coming out of West Africa. And we are saying that surely we should be concentrating more on just making sure that our team isn't stop-start. Tatanga, Tamboita under 17 team this year. Next year, Yonza Kusina. We are not qualifying. And we're glad, like you pointed out, that under your tenure, we're beginning to see Zimbabwe featuring at tournaments regularly, because I feel without participating at these tournaments regularly, we're never going to succeed. The last time we were there was 10 years ago.
Yeah, but one thing I want to assure you is that change has been happening in Zimbabwe football. It has been happening on the regional football scene. It has also now begun to happen on the continental scene. I want to assure Zimbabweans that there is certainly going to be a lot of difference from when they've always been expecting, better from football and so forth. Yeah, it's happening. Caps United qualified yesterday. A big bum to them. Things are happening. So sometimes, we want to work. It's work in progress. And we all want to be saying to each other, let's do things right. Sometimes, in order for me to be praised, I don't want to rush the way that things have got to happen, particularly on the local scene. They have to happen naturally. And, there's a lot of things that you must take into account. One, the economy ain't doing very well. There's no sponsors out there. Sometimes I have had to twist a lot of institutions that have ended up funding football. and it's not how things should be. Sponsors should just come forward.
But doesn't that go back to the question I asked before,
yeah.
Dr. ChIyangwa, that are we not spreading our resources too thin and too wide?
No, I did mention to you, maybe
yeah.
you didn't listen to me. I said I have the money for junior development given as an allocation to Zimbabwe by FIFA. Now, I have a money written development of football.
So it goes strictly to development.
So I'm choosing, right, that shall I pick the ministers or government's program and put that money? And I think I'm persuaded to, because that's, to me, junior development. You understand what I'm saying? Yes. So I'm saying there was no money, there is money, and it only started this year and for the next 4 years. So we will be working together with government to ensure that whatever we can do on our part, we do it. And then we let government also, do, this is their program. We're only trying to, assist. That's all I can say.
And I'm wearing my Bora Kunafidza t-shirt that I won on the platform during his campaign. Didn't even realize this is a big fan of yours. He doesn't let us know, or she doesn't let us know who she is and where she is. Yes, sire, Boss Fidza is the man. That message is coming from Big Shops Caravella. No, he's requesting a song, I think. That's Chirikurudo by Big Shops Caravella. But that's the, let me go back to I just lost his message here, but he was congratulating you. At this moment in time, it seems you can do no wrong, Dr. Phillip ChIyangwa. Thanks, Dr. ChIyangwa. You start things as a joke, but they have come to fruition 3 times in a row. ZIFA, COSAFA, now CAF. Got no doubt even FIFA up there. One day it's going to happen. This is Mel C out in Bulawayo. So the goodwill of the fans, you certainly have won it. And I think a lot of people who started off perhaps not respecting you.
Like Mike.
Yes, I honestly told you that, when you started on this whole, let's get rid of Hayatou.
I have the bigger laugh.
Yes, I say to myself, what is this man getting the country into? But you certainly came through where a lot of people had a lot of doubts. And one burning question, and just taking a look at, I'm going to paraphrase because I've seen it about 10 times on our WhatsApp platform here. A lot of people want to talk about the national teams, specifically the Mighty Warriors and the Warriors. Right now, those 2 teams don't have coaches. What is your thinking around that? When can we expect an appointment? And then just in terms of the aspirations you have as ZIFA and we have as a nation, what sort of person are we looking for?
Basically it's not Phillip ChIyangwa sitting there saying, no, this is the coach that I want. I've got an experienced team who are in a committee called technical, right?
The technical committee.
Yeah, and then I've got an experienced team called high performance committee. These are the people you go through in order for you to be acceptable as a coach for the country, because the blame must not be squarely on me. I don't hire, I don't fire coaches. I only get recommendations to hire, and I only get recommendations that we no longer want. You understand? So for me, I depend squarely on advice. That look, this is the better way to go, and this is not the way to go. We recently relieved coaches. That was at the end of February. We are in the midst, or nearly the end of March, and surely many countries have taken time to replace coaches. But we are going into competitions soon, right? So we have ideas about the acting coaches now.
What advice, though, have you given your teams? Surely, as ZIFA president, you'd have said...
The only thing I do right now is I will appoint acting coaches. Right, that's going to happen anytime. But to me, I don't just get this acting coach being just a coach, just a pass-by. If he happens to prove himself, he might stay. You understand what I'm saying? But I am going to announce acting coaches.
Local or international?
No, local.
Local coach?
Yes.
Is it
Local
because we
coaches.
can't afford an international?
No, I can. I can
You
afford.
can?
I can.
There are those that will say, for example, Callisto Pasua fell horribly short in Gabon. And in terms of just tactical aptitude, that he was outwitted and he looked out of his depth. Perhaps a better coach might have done better.
But in terms
a
of,
more experienced coach.
Performance on our local scene, Pali Callisto is way above any other coach in the country at the moment. You understand that? You know
in terms
that.
of achievement.
If you look at his record and his performance and all, he is way, way above that. You see, if you then take the other coaches from outside as a comparison, then we are also saying, okay, what sort of exposure did Callisto throughout his career get? And he's still willing to learn, to master more techniques and so forth. And when I had the last meeting with him, I was really touched with the fact that he's saying to me, look, if you want to send me to go out there and get more training, I'm willing to do that. You understand what I'm saying? So I'm still, a Callisto Passoa type man who thinks that Callisto did the best that he could. It is the recommendation from my committee, right, that puts him out. Are you with me? But if he partook in more training and became a bit more, the international coach that is licensed internationally, then it's a different scene.
Would we not have been better served? And I know that the horse has bolted from the stable, Dr. ChIyangwa. Would we not have been better served for the purposes of continuity and for the purposes of harnessing the experience that Callisto Passoa got in Gabon at this tournament, kept him on board, perhaps as an assistant coach to a more experienced coach?
You don't do that. You see, you can never say to a guy who is your MD here at ZFM, no, I'm going to demote you to become general manager. No. You know what happened had to happen, right? And then we put him through a training program, right? If he's going to be taking another year, that's fine. Are you with me? Then when he returns, we give him back his job, but he's a different man altogether. You understand what I'm saying? He has now obtained the licenses that Mourinho, Conte, and everybody has. Right?
So that is the thinking around.
I spoke to him and I'm happy. If I happen to put him together something where a club where he can go and get that stewardship, then that's fine. I will do that.
Tinashe Rwanza, good evening to you. Thank you so much for tuning into ZFM Stereo. This is the platform. You say vachiyangwa tinova da asingava tisimudziro bora kumaruwa kwedu kwamusana kune vafana vakapenga.
Ndoko riri kuyako ko nanchitaura manje maybe kana wanga wakateerera nanchizvitaura izvozvi ndichitaura na Mike kuti no ndikuda kuti bhora ndikwanisewo kubuda mutaundi ndichiuya kukokoko tichiriona bhora saka tarisira kuti zvichaitika.
Another message here that's coming in, and it says, congratulations, Blafidza. Can we now see you deliver on your words, i.e., you and the new CAF boss take this opportunity to improve the lives of our local footballers, please? This is Oskido out in Bulawayo. Thank you so much for sending us your message. And this is another message that's coming through, and it reads, is it not time for ZIFA to bring back the ZIFA Cup? Because it also exposes raw talent. Now, he brings up the ZIFA Cup, and this is something that obviously you have to work with the Premier Soccer League. Now, the Premier Soccer League over the last 5 years, Dr. ChIyangwa, has come across as perhaps one of the beacons of the local game, with sponsorship secured and the league operating, some would say, very smoothly. Delta Beverages, in that regard, has been perhaps the biggest friend to football, with Castle having sponsored the top flight league over the last 5 years, Chibuku sponsoring a cup competition, and Coca-Cola involved in high school football. But however, your relationship, as has been portrayed in the media with the PSL, is not at its best.
It's much better now than it was before. Much better now.
It's a good working relationship.
Yeah, it's much better.
Because those who are accusing you of meddling in the top flight league.
You see, there's no need for me to justify a nullity. There is nothing called PSL. Okay? Every club is a member of ZIFA. Like the regions, the provinces, the NAF, tertiary, etc. Okay? What people don't understand, there's nothing that exists legally that is called PSL. They are Premier Soccer League clubs. It's a heading with clubs like Dynamos, Caps, Islanders. Are you with me? They're directly members. Their existence is a direct licensing of ZIFA.
So what is it then that we have been calling the Premier Soccer League?
Then over the years, they felt like, look, we wanted to administer our own affairs, like a region does, like an area zone does, and so forth. Are you with me? Then they have that umbrella of saying, okay, have your own thing there. Are you with me? But they directly under me.
ZIFA.
Yes. The only thing that they then had up their heads and probably coming from some wrong legal advice, was no. You guys are universities. You are on your own, and you can sue or be sued and what have you. You see, there is a problem. If a person who is owed money today finds any property belonging to what is called CBS, they seize it because it's ZIFA. It's one and the same thing, you understand? So that has been the last thing I needed to actually tell them until they themselves, one by one, came to find explanation from my own lawyers that what is this? What is this fight? So now you've got two new people there. You know that. You've got a new chairman from Highlanders who is more understanding. You've got a chairman of CAPS who is more understanding. So these two brought peace between me and them. The ignorance that had been experienced all along, right, was shoved down the alleyway. And then we are now in good books because they don't know who's the boss.
So it was just a case of ZIFA trying to regularize the relationship between the Premier Soccer League and ZIFA.
Exactly. We need to bring their constitution to my Congress and approve it through Congress. Because at the moment, nothing exists which they call PSL or Premier League, whatever the case it is. Are you with me? It is my constitution which runs football in this country. And in any event, I approve their competitions. Whether the team coming here, I approve. Whether they are going outside, I approve. I license them. I license their players.
So can you assure us that the Premier Soccer League will kick off as normal, that football will be played this year, Mr. Chiyangwa?
Isn't it that they've made their own press statements already? They are out there doing their own thing.
Oh, they're out there doing their own thing.
Yeah.
And they have your blessing.
Yes.
And we can be assured that there will be no, because...
No, I don't come in. You see, they brought me to that shameful behavior, wherein after they had their own agreements, right, with the councillors, which was done even before I became president, they then decided to renege on it. So that's where the issues arose from. I was not part of it. I did not want it to be my baby to say you promised each other this and now you're no longer willing to do this. So that those were the misses that occurred. And in fact, it was an illegal resolution passed before, and now it was before me, and then they started fighting over illegalities. Then I said, no, this is an elite. Let's start afresh. Let's do things that are proper.
Good evening to Ruvimbo out in Vainona. You say, to be fair, Phillip ChIyangwa has done very well, especially in these CAF elections. He's right to say that North Africa and West Africa have flourished, and that is simply because they've hosted over 90% of our regional tournaments, hence their progress. Hopefully now, as other nations in the southern region of Africa will host, we will progress as well. Thank you so much for that message, Ruvimbo. Nice note that you tuned in. We go out to Bulawayo, T. Rusere, Dr. Fiza. Keep it up. You have brought joy to football fans from Zimbabwe. Now, you touched a bit on the ugly episode towards the end of last year, and that has in fact continued slightly at the beginning of this year regards the Premier Soccer League. And you have been quoted extensively, Dr. ChIyangwa, in the local press, the international press, as having labeled Issa Hayatou as the dictator of African football. But there are those that would accuse you of the same thing here at home.
They should have won at the elections.
No.
Even if I was talking in Kaka, at the end of the day, I won.
Yes, you won. That is without dispute. But we take a look, Mr. ChIyangwa, at the suspensions of certain people. Your Peter Dubes, your Dumiso Gumedo, recently Hope Chizuzu as well. Are you maybe intolerant? Is it a case that you are intolerant? Have you got the capacity to work with people that don't see it the way you do? All these people that you're talking about, they don't work with me. No. You don't have to work within football in Zimbabwe to destroy football. Once you do that, I'm just supposed to remove you. Okay? I need time to focus and administer football for the success. If you want to become a star by shouting at this person, then you are in trouble. Because once you start shouting and creating problems for me, I can create horrible problems for you. Just like I did with Issa. Simply put, I'm saying, keep your distance from causing problems. If we are going to work, let's work together without causing each other any problems. You are talking about people that caused me problems. Okay, more messages here. This one is actually, you don't tell us who you are. You say, please, Dr. ChIyangwa, it's not wise to distribute the CAF Football Development Fund through government. It has enough economic issues to deal with. Have an independent vehicle that will use the school structures. That's a piece of advice that's coming from a fan.
Okay,
what
but
are your
he
thoughts?
seems to be, he did not understand what we were talking
What
about.
you were talking
We
about.
did not talk about putting money into CAF. We didn't say that, did we?
No.
We didn't say that the money was coming from CAF, did we?
No. I
So
think
let me correct
he's
him.
talking
let
about
me
the money
correct
coming
him.
from FIFA.
Yeah,
yes.
let me correct him. The money comes from FIFA to ZIFA. It directly goes to a chosen program. Because FIFA audits me. They want me to account for this money. And I have to acquit it through professional auditors and accountants. So I think just for him to know, the money comes from FIFA into ZIFA, from ZIFA to wherever it goes for this program that we'll have agreed. We'll have agreed and we sign off between me, government, and send that to FIFA. FIFA then sees it and says, okay, fine, you can go ahead with this one. Because now there are committees there that approve these things, right? So when the funds finally are released, they know exactly where they're going. You follow? So there is no money going into treasury. No.
Well, whilst we're talking about money and with time running out on the show, it perhaps lead me to my last question, and it's one that in the euphoria of our participation at the various continental tournaments, in the last 12 months, very little has been mentioned about the debt that we all know ZIFA is in. And now it's a sore point for you, I know, and you laugh because the debt was inherited. But having assumed, you of course did mention that during your tenure, there has been no debt that has been accrued to ZIFA.
I don't know.
So it's inherited. But having assumed power at ZIFA, Dr. ChIyangwa, you also assumed a measure of responsibility, and we just want to find out, are you working towards anything, restructuring the debt, retiring the debt? Is there a scheme of arrangement? What are you doing about the debt?
I look forward to engaging the creditors. But, one thing is I don't have their money, and what I can offer, which is likely to be the case, is to say some would have to write it off, some would have to take a small amount in order of us to separate ways as full and final settlement. And that is going to happen soon. I certainly don't have the money. I never came in from anywhere with the money. I never found any money in ZIFA. I only stabilized the situation, which was exacerbated by people who did not know where they were coming and
So
going.
the money you have right now at ZIFA is for specific projects?
Yes, and don't even have it. It's bound to be released and on its way to the various cost centers.
Has FIFA not shown any concern whatsoever about this debt
But
and its
the-
management? Just to
the-
ask,
the-
Infantino to
the-
say, ko PC, Murugu party pipe, kuti saka,
Vakanga vatora
tiri
chikwereti
kumanisa
chacho
sei?
vakanga vachikireta vakambozvizama handiti vakazvitadza handiti. So inini the mandate given me was can you come up with a solution, and I went back and I said I don't have one, okay. And anenga akatorwa chikwereti ngaangogara agadzira kuti angona kutozoshaira tumari yake because wairamba ungopa uchifungei mazvona. So inini, as far as I'm concerned, I will put across to the creditors a proposal whether it's 10% of your money you take and go, or 20%, depending on where and how I get the money. But it's happening soon.
Okay, happening soon. And as we wrap up the show, let's just take a quick glance at the WhatsApp platform. And nice to know that we got listeners out in China, Zhangzhou to be precise. This is Nhla Utini Baba. He says, well done. The best is yet to come. No doubt that message is for you, Dr. Phillip ChIyangwa. He's looking to the future. Louis Magaya, Big Phil, you're the man. Thanks, Babava Bruce. And of course, Bruce being your son. Did I mention we were at the same school?
Okay.
Yes, we were. And I remember you were guest of honor at Jameson High School prize giving 1995. I actually won a prize if you gave it to me. So we go a long way.
Bye.
We go a long way.
Okay.
More and more messages that are coming in here. And listen, I've been very impressed with the fans. You've won a lot of people over, Dr. ChIyangwa. A lot of these guys would have been critical 6 months ago, but I have not even seen a single critical message. This one says, "Hi, Papa Fiza. Thumbs up, big bro. We never liked the issue of us failing to swipe at the Caps United match yesterday. The manager justified himself that due to network, his machines are slow. Now we're saying that we can't buy advanced tickets." So this is someone who was not happy with the fact that they had to part with their hard-earned cash in the match Caps United TP Mazembe at the National Sports
The
Stadium.
consolation is we drew and we have qualified and we are,
We've
Going forward.
qualified,
Yeah,
and maybe that's an appropriate point for us to end the conversation. Caps United doing the business against TP Mazembe, and it's certainly good for Zimbabwe football, isn't it, to be in the limelight.
Sure. I'm very happy for Caps and the fans that came through and those that are supporting me, for the first time.
You've won them over. And perhaps you might even win them over just a bit more, Dr. Phillip ChIyangwa, because there are a lot of people who are complaining about the gate charges at that game yesterday. And there's a feeling that the crowd could have been better and bigger. But unfortunately, some of the gate charges $50 for a VIP ticket and $5 for the cheapest ticket when they're used to paying $3. And the National Sports Stadium also, you have to include perhaps transport costs. It's not as central as Rufaro Stadium for the majority of our football fans. So that's something perhaps Caps United fans especially will say, we hope you can talk to Mr. Jere. We hope you can talk to Caps United so that when the group stages start, we are filling up the National Sports Stadium.
I'm sure that, we will look at the next matches coming up, and particularly PSL matches. Caps is here. It's got PSL matches to fulfill the whole of the year, and I'm sure the rates will have gone much more down. They'll go lower because you can't charge $50 for VIP. Anyone else?
There we go. You heard it from Dr. Phillip ChIyangwa. Dr. Phillip ChIyangwa, thank you so much for joining us on the platform. A pleasure hearing from you.
Thank you very much.
Thank
you, listeners.
That was Dr. Phillip ChIyangwa, the conqueror of Isa Hayatou, a task that many had tried but had failed until PC. Dr. Phillip ChIyangwa rode into town. My name is Mike Madon. I've been your host on this special edition of the platform, live on ZFM Stereo, my station, your station. It's a very good evening, Zimbabwe.
The platform. Step up and